Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 20 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, and before I even get into it, isn't it crazy that we are already 20 episodes into this show? We are already 5 months into Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, which is just insane to think about. Time really does fly by, guys. But yeah, let's get right into it. Episode 20 was, I thought, another really solid episode. It was definitely a very enjoyable one. The way I usually do the reviews, as you guys know, is I like to do them in a linear kind of order, but I'm probably going to start with the more plot-heavy stuff, which we got towards the end. The last, 5 minutes of this episode, Jesus, they just ramped it up. The duel was quick. The duel was good. Well, I want to talk about the plot stuff with you guys first, and please do leave your thoughts down below. I appreciate it as always, and I will talk to you down below as always. So, the big things that we got right after the duel ends, Yusaku gets his information, and he leaves. Emma leaves, the Zaizens leave, and I'll talk more about that moment when I go over the duel and how that concluded, because that was a nice little moment between Playmaker and Blue Angel and Akira, and once again he distances himself from, I guess I'll just talk about that part right now. The last time we saw him do this was to Go Onizuka in episode 5, and we haven't seen Go for 15 episodes, so maybe we will not see the Zaizens for 15 episodes now, because once Yusaku says, I don't want to involve you in the plot, it seems like the writers literally don't involve them in the plot, at least in the case of Go. Hopefully that doesn't happen with the Zaizens, because they have been two of the MVPs of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains. I have loved both of their characterizations, so I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. I'm pretty confident it won't. Go is just, it's tough to write him into the plot right now, as I've said before, and I'm sure the Zaizens will be back pretty soon, but Yusaku basically says, look, I don't want to get you guys involved. You guys don't need to walk down this dark path with me. Both of you, to my knowledge and to our knowledge, were not involved in this incident, so there's no need for you to get involved with what's a very life or death matter. What Yusaku said about Go is he said he didn't want to involve him in a life or death game, and to them, he doesn't say that exactly, but that's clearly what he means, and so we see this again, nobility trait. I think that's a very good, noble, that's a very good word to describe Playmaker taking these actions that he could use the help of Akira, who pushed him to the edge in this duel, and Blue Angel and Go Onizuka are two of the best charisma duelists. If he wanted to, he could have established a super team right now, because I'm sure Go would have worked for him. I'm sure, well, maybe not worked for him is the right word, would have fought for him, would have fought with him. Blue Angel definitely would have, and probably Akira, if he offers to the Zaizens right here and says, look, I want you both to help me expose this incident, they probably would. But I think it's a very noble act. It's a very selfless gesture that he does not want to get them involved in this life or death game, because he knows what it means. He knows losing a duel to the Knights means you most likely pay with your life. And that is a very great trait we see in Playmaker. And it's kind of that balance between being antisocial and being noble, and it's tough to find a middle ground there, because you can easily look at this and say, oh, well, he just doesn't want help. He's being kind of selfish in that regard, where he doesn't want other people to help him out, even though, this is a huge issue and there were other kids involved. And as other people start coming to light, as he probably figures out who the other 6 kids are, which could very well be in the data, maybe he will try to enlist the help of them. We're just going to have to wait and see. I still hope that there is a team that gets formed, but I thought that after episode 5 it was inevitable. 15 episodes later, episode 20, he's doing the same thing, where he is denying, he's even, before they even offer him help, he is shutting down the offer from the Zaizens, so that'll be interesting to see. And yeah, so we leave the data room, and this was a scene that a lot of people might have missed. Well, probably not, honestly. A lot of people might have missed, but it's a 10-second scene that is so interesting to me. Emma is driving away on her motorcycle, and she just goes, I wonder how much someone will pay for this data. And she rides off into the sunset, and I immediately realized, as I'm sure plenty of viewers realized, oh crap, Emma Besso still has the information she took from the end of 17. We remember at the end of episode 17, as Yusaku entered the room and Akira challenged him to a duel, and we were all like, oh my god, Akira duels, what is this? Emma grabbed a piece of information, and Emma never returned that piece of information. And so she has a piece of most likely key data, probably from the incident 10 years ago. And I just wonder, because what was the one piece of data that was missing from the Yusaku and Kusanagi, maybe among other things, but the one main one that they made note of from the Yusaku and Kusanagi poll? It was the motivations. And so I wonder if the data that Emma Besso has are the motivations of this project, and right now that is going to fuel the fire for most likely Playmaker. He's going to try to find Revolver. Based on the 21 preview, he said Revolver should know more about this, and now he's going to go after Revolver, even though the motivations Emma might have, or maybe Emma has the names of the other children involved. Who knows, but Emma is still going to be playing a vital part in this because she couldn't resist, right? She couldn't resist, and she had to take something for herself. She had to make it worthwhile for herself, and so the whole Emma Besso, Ghost Girl, can you trust her? I really don't know. And it's funny because right before they show that scene, she says a pretty endearing thing to the Zaizen. She says, "Be nice to each other, you two." And it almost made you feel like she's the reason that Aoi was able to witness Akira tell his story and tell his story of how much he cares about Aoi, because even Aoi at the end of this episode says, "It wasn't all a waste. I now know how you really feel about me." And they smile at each other, and then they kind of smile off into the distance, and they're like, yeah, Playmaker's just gonna do his own thing. He's gonna follow his own path. If it wasn't for Emma, Aoi wouldn't have been there, right? Because Emma was the one who told Aoi to go. And if it wasn't for Emma, Akira probably wouldn't be there either. So Emma is the reason you have this sibling reunion, and that's why Emma's character is great, and it's so hard for me to either like her or not like her, because I don't know what she's thinking, and that is great for a character when you don't know what they're thinking, and they can really do anything from A to Z, because she basically reunites the Zaizen, she makes their bonds very, very strong, and then right after that you learn that she took a piece of data for herself, a piece of data that's probably very vital to this whole situation, and all she cares about is how much money she can get for it. So Emma's character has been written brilliantly, and she clearly has not lost that side of her where that bounty hunter side, this is her job, this is what she loves to do. And while it's very humane to see her bring the Zaizens together when she didn't have to, she went out of her way to do that, then a second later she's saying something like this. So Emma's character continues to just keep me on edge, it keeps the viewers on edge, and that was a very interesting piece of data. The other thing that was very, very interesting in this episode, we find out Kogami was the one who, according to these data files, orchestrated the Hanoi project and ran it himself. Now, personally, I don't believe that for a split second. And I like how Ignis even alluded to it. Ignis was like, I don't really believe that maybe Zaizen was involved. I don't really believe that Kogami was the only one who ran it. And if any of you believe that Kogami was the only person who knew about this program, who kidnapped 6 kids, who set up these rooms, it's just, there's no way. There were other people involved, and to cover it up, they threw all the blame on Dr. Kogami, who obviously got spiteful for it, and he went to the Knights of Hanoi, which was Soul Technologies' rival group, and is now trying to destroy what he created with Soul Technologies, probably because of how he was treated at Soul Technologies, even though at the same time, he's a twisted human being for being involved in this incident. And if you don't know what a whistleblower is, it's basically if you work in a company, and your president is doing something or your manager is doing something very unethical, you can report your manager without the fear of getting in trouble. You can't get in trouble for reporting someone higher up. So I would love to see in maybe a few episodes or sometime down the line how this came to light. Who was the person that discovered this incident? What was his or her reaction to discovering this whole ordeal, and like them reporting it, and then the whole covering it up. Obviously, it never reached the public, so there's not going to be a public outcry or anything. But I would like to know from the whistleblower's perspective, and I think it's interesting that they said how it came to light. I would like to know from the whistleblower's perspective how this was discovered, and did they just find these containers in the woods and like hear children voices or something? Like, that will be a very interesting dynamic, and hopefully they do explore that at some point. But the uppers at Soul Tech definitely are involved. Even if they were just funding it, they knew what was happening. You can't tell me that Kogami was the only one who knew what was happening. I don't believe that for a second. And then we quickly learn Kogami 7 years ago died. Kogami has been dead, and we see his body, and we know this is his body in the real world because we can see his hair, and his hair is the same as it is in the VR world. And him and Revolver drop something, maybe it's like a virus or a bomb, who knows what it is, into this big wormhole, it looks like. Not really a wormhole, but this big cylinder. And Kogami says this is going to destroy not only Link VRains, but the entire network. And we will, I guess, just see what happens, because then the episode ends, and then that's it. We gotta wait for next week. This also might have low-key killed any theories regarding Kusanagi, Revolver, and Kogami, which is a shame because I would have liked to see that all, transpire. I think it would have been good, maybe even necessary for Kusanagi's character, because if Kusanagi is not going to duel, where do you really... I guess he could still be brothers with Revolver to some degree, but if Kogami is Revolver's father, which it seems like he is, maybe not biological, maybe that's how the Revolver Kusanagi brother theory could still be alive. Maybe Kogami is, like, metaphorically Revolver's father, the person who took Revolver in, because maybe Revolver and Kusanagi's parents were killed off, and so Kogami took Revolver in as this, like, dueling mercenary, as the next leader of the Knights of Hanoi, or some... Another theory it kills is we thought that the Revolver of 5 years ago was the Revolver of today's father, but... because we had that flashback 5 years ago where Revolver was trying to wipe away the Cybursts, and we assumed that he would have been 11 years old if it's the Revolver of today, but Kogami was apparently killed 7 years ago. Then again, he still could have been... he's not dead because he's alive in Link VRains, but he just can't... he's not alive in the real world, even though he's still in that machine, so that machine, I think, is prolonging his life, and there probably is a way for him to be brought back to life, and that's probably what Revolver's main motivations are with the Knights of Hanoi. There's still just so many unanswered questions, and that's what I love about VRains. You get some answers, and it just opens the door to so many more questions. But the main point I'm trying to get is Kusanagi had no reaction to seeing Dr. Kogami on screen. Maybe it's just he didn't know his father growing up, but most likely it means Kogami is not Kusanagi's father, and if Kogami is actually Revolver's father biologically, then Revolver and Kusanagi are not brothers, and one of the biggest theories before the show even started is a theory that I believed after we saw the flashbacks of Kusanagi's brother in that dark room are just like that, with a snap of a finger, wiped away. So that will be an interesting dynamic to keep an eye on. The duel was really good. I've already talked for a long time, so I'm probably not going to get too much into the duel. Yusaku had a lot of monsters. I love the Bittron upgrade. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but that was Devintron or something like that. He was able to summon a security guard onto the field, so when Akira activated his big effect, and Akira's field was pretty flawless. He had the trap card that was going to inflict 4,500 attack points, or that's what it had to be because all the link markers had to be filled up. Yusaku was unable to attack the field as long as there were 3 Tindangle monsters, or not even attack the field, attack in general, which was the case, but Yusaku was able to bait Akira into using the trap. Thanks to Security Gardener's effect, the effect damage during the battle phase became 0. Akira lost his field protection effect, where Yusaku was not able to attack as long as there were 3 Tindangles because he had to sacrifice 2 of the tokens in order to deal this, what was supposed to be 4,500 points of damage thanks to his trap card. So Yusaku was able to attack directly with Firewall, but he chooses not to, and this is where the symbolism was magnificent, and Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains has done a great job with symbolism. Yusaku instead attacks Acute Cerebus, even though he could have attacked directly, and even Akira's like, why did you attack my monster instead of just attacking directly and finishing the duel? And that's when Yusaku gives the speech, you guys have to protect each other, you guys shouldn't be both in the graveyard at the same time, or you really both shouldn't be in the graveyard at all. And I don't want you to, and I guess the graveyard here is kind of symbolism for despair, for tragedy, because Yusaku, I already touched on it earlier, is like, I don't want you guys to get involved, leave this to me. 2 conflicting ideals. Akira, I have not lost any respect for him. If anything, I've gained respect. He wants Yusaku to just kind of escape from this life. He wants to take responsibility for it. He wants Yusaku, or Playmaker in this case, to lead a normal life to whatever is possible at this point after the mental scarring he's had. But obviously, it's a lot more complex than that, and you do kind of understand that. So I'm going to cut this off right here. The duel was good, the episode was good, and as always, we get answers, and we just have more questions that follow the answers. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my review of episode 20. I have not done the 21 cast list analysis. That is actually going to come out tomorrow, so I will give my thoughts on the cast list in a video tomorrow, and hopefully I will have another scripted video for you guys this Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely leave your thoughts down below. I will talk to you down below, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Journey,